This is a 1949 Ford 8N tractor. Belonged to some friends of mine, and about a year and a half after they got it, they blew the motor up. So it actually sat on their farm for probably a good 8, 9 years out in the weather. They had somebody take a look at it. They determined that it had dropped a piston for some reason, and they were going to fix it. Somebody was going to look at it, and nobody ever did. So I talked them into selling it, so maybe I could take it, rebuild it, use it on my farm. And I knew it was going to be a project that it needed some TLC, and I loaded it up and brought it home. And you can see the barnacles on it from sitting underneath the tree. But in overall shape, it was a pretty good shape. Uh, Everything was there except for the starter. The starter was actually on the ground there, but it was tore apart, wasn't usable. So I knew I was going to need a new one of those, and but the whole plan was to just rebuild the engine, touch things up a little bit, get it in good running condition. And my goal was to do that by the end of summer. I actually bought this thing in March, I think it was, and brought it home in April, and started working on it. But the whole goal was to get it going by the end of summer, so I could get it down to the farm and get it running right, and then next year plan on getting a good bush hog, and being able to keep up with the grass a little bit better, and maybe do a little planting of some food plots, moving some trees that are down, and that sort of thing. So that was the whole goal, and you can see the bad engine. Well, I started cleaning out the oil pan today and discovered this, where the rope seal goes on the back end. You can see it there, but the edges are broke off on the inside, on both sides, and I don't want to take the chance putting all new parts in here and then having an oil leak. So probably going to be ordering another pan here. We've got it cleaned up a little bit, most of the metal out of it. Had a lot of shrapnel in it. This one here don't look too bad, but I'm just afraid that that's going to be a little too much. And I don't know if it was like that before, if it like that when we took it apart. It doesn't look freshly broke, so I don't know, but I don't know what caused the engine failure to begin with. Also cleaned up the oil filter canister a little bit, the air filter. Got some more cleaning to do on it. So we're getting there. Cleaned up a little bit of the dash. Had a little rotary tool with a wire brush on it. Cleaned that up a little bit. Also cleaned up a little bit of the transmission casing, a little bit of the front, just to see how things were going to come off. It's cleaning up pretty nice. So I think we'll be in good shape. We can quit finding broken parts. So I think most of the damage was in the motor. As far as I know, everything else worked pretty good. And like I said, I did get the first and third gear working.
I got junk sitting on it right here, but a little spider. Run into a lot of those since I brought this thing home. But the rail needed cleaned up a little bit. It was stuck, so I got it unstuck, and now it'll go into first and third. But I'm going to do some more work to it. So little by little, we're getting there. You know, it's a shame that next Friday, or this coming Friday actually, I'm having carpal tunnel surgery done on the right hand and cubital tunnel on the elbow. So that's really going to slow my process down here. And hopefully I'll recover pretty quick from it to where I can at least get out here and get a little bit of stuff done, maybe cleaning up. The left hand's still healing. You know, I had surgery on it about a month ago or so, and it's still a little weak sometimes. Still hurts if I use it too much, but we're getting a little bit done, and there's plenty I can do cleaning wise on the rest of the tractor. I drained some hydraulic fluid out today out of another section. I think there's one more plug down there I got to get out and drain that out and take a look at it and see what it needs or how it looks anyway. I'm thinking the rest of the tractor's in pretty good shape. Of course, tires, rims, yeah, so. The front tires are flat. They're weather cracked, so obviously going to put new tires on the front. But you know, those things will come. And main thing right now is I just want to get the engine put back together and get it put in, and then start wiring it up and see if we can at least get it to go. And then you know, go from there. The rest of the stuff I can work on whenever. And but this is the major part. So, like I said, unfortunately, going to be slowing down here for a month or so, probably at least. And hopefully, it won't drag too long into summer, and I'll get to feeling good enough to start getting this done. I got plenty of help if I need it. You know, I can call some people over and say, hey, you know, put this together for me. And they know what they're doing, and we'll get it by summertime. I'm sure I'm definitely hoping to have it running by the end of summer. Any time before that would be great. Like I said, with my schedule and my health issues, it's kind of a crapshoot right now. So, but there ain't no hurry. It hasn't been running in about good 8 years probably. So I done without it that long, and so yeah. But we'll get her back together and get her running one of these days, and hopefully in the end we'll have a good video just tootling around on the farm with it. So stay tuned. Well, it's April 19th, and I'm doing a little prep work. If you remember the 1949 8N, the motor was trashed, so I ended up having to find another block. I found one out in Pennsylvania, and they shipped it out here to me, and it's actually in pretty good shape. They went through it, they magnafluxed it, they line bored it, everything checked out okay, no cracks. There's just a little bit of pitting here, but it's not unusual for something this old. This one actually came out of a 1947 2N. It will fit, so I got sleeves on the way, and I'm actually going to have a machine shop put those in because I want to make sure they're right. I want to make sure they fit right, and so as soon as they get in, I'm going to take this to them and have them bore these cylinders out to where they need to be, put the sleeves in, and then get it back to me, and hopefully I get parts coming here pretty soon, and I can start putting this thing back together. All I've been doing right now is just retapping holes, cleaning things out a little bit, making sure that when I get my parts and I get this back from the machine shop, I'm ready to go. So prep work's important, and I want to get all that done so that when the parts do come in, I can assemble them out, lay them out the way I need them, and just go to town putting this thing together, because I don't want to start and stop, start and stop. That's when you forget stuff. So stay tuned. We're going to keep making videos and see how the progress goes on this. I actually had a problem with first and third gear where actually the tractor, I think, just sat too long, and things kind of seized up on it. And I read about that on some of the forums, so I took the lid off and the gear shift out, and got everything cleaned up a little bit to where now it's working okay. So I'm going to clean it up some more before I put the hydraulic fluid back in it, but I'm glad I got it fixed, at least got it working to a certain point. And like I said, we're going to make it better, hopefully. So stay tuned.
While I was recovering, I took the time. Of course, the engine block was at the machine shop, so I had a little time anyway. But that gave me time to heal up a little bit. So I just kind of did a little bit of cleaning on the fenders, getting the barnacles off, taking a buffing pad to it a little bit, throwing some primer on it. And they turned out to be in pretty good shape, not super rusty, a little bit of rust around where the brackets for the lights were, but other than that, they were in real good shape, and the dash and everything cleaned up real good. So we're going to get started on it.
Well, today we're doing a little tedious work. This is the oil filter canister. As you can see, it's pretty gummed up on the outside there. So I'm going to get it cleaned off. A lot of scraping, a lot of tedious work, but it's good for my hands. You know, after the surgeries and had the last month, the doctor told me to keep using them. You know, just don't do too much. And this is pretty good work for that, to exercise my hands a little bit without straining them. You know, I'm not doing a lot of squeezing. So we're just kind of piddling around out here in the garage, trying to get this thing cleaned up a little bit while the motor's at the machine shop. Take advantage of our time. Like I said, it's a lot of scraping, a lot of buffing, a lot of degreasing. You know, I'm getting some stuff primered. Not getting too worried about getting anything really painted right now till I get all the mechanical work done that I want to get done. I really don't want to get something all nice and pretty and then end up tearing it up, because I had to go back and tear it apart. So, you know, primer's easy to replace, but so just kind of prettying up the tractor a little bit, getting the crap off of it. You know, it's set for about 8 years, and that wasn't good for it, of course. So that's the agenda for today. Just playing in the grease and the dirt. Got nothing better to do. Like I said, it's good exercise for my hands. Just remember, if you ever get into a project like this, sometimes there's a lot of work like this that has to be done. That, of course, nobody else wants to do it either. But like I said, it's got to be done to get the project done right. So it's not all fun and games. But if you enjoy what you're doing, you enjoy getting dirty, you enjoy working with tools, that ain't no big deal. It's actually pretty cool, you know. Take something and make something out of it that somebody else decided they didn't want to mess with, I guess. So that's what we're doing today.
I had a little trouble with first and third gear. It turned out the rail was just a little rusty from sitting all those years. Had a little water in it, so I got that cleaned off and got it shifting good. Put in a new starter button and started working on the front end because it was a little bit loose, and wanted to put a new kingpin, new bushing in, that sort of thing, and that got to be a real wrestling match for me. So what I ended up doing is I ended up finding a new piece for the front end, and I'm not sure exactly what it come out of. You know, they pretty much all interchange, but it was a little bit longer, had an extra hole basically on each side, so it was a little bit longer than what I had, but I was able to make it work all right after getting it all cleaned up, painted up, and getting it adjusted eventually. The hood had some dings in it after I got the barnacles off. It's got some pretty bad rust in the ridges, but I straightened it out a little bit. Didn't really want to spend a whole lot of time on it. Just wanted to get it looking halfway decent. I figure over the winter I can do some real body work on it if I want to. I'll have a lot more time. Like I said, I wanted to be getting this thing running, so I didn't want to take a lot of time slowing down the process of making that happen. So I just cleaned it up a little bit, primed it up, and eventually threw some paint on it just for future protection, and until I decide whether I want to really pretty it up nice. You know, it's not going to be a show tractor. I'm going to use it. So but I did go ahead and throw some paint on a lot of it, just mainly for the protection. I put a new gas tank in it, and the old one, you know, it, like I said, had been sitting, so I didn't even want to mess with that. But got the new front end back together, and once I got the block back, once we had it at the machine shop, we discovered it actually come out of a 46 2N instead of a 47, but it would still interchange, and everything went smooth with it. You know, I said I had some help earlier, but I decided I just wanted to do this rebuild by myself, mainly to test my own mechanical ability. And you know, I'd rebuilt motors in high school when I took auto mechanics at vocational school, but we always had an instructor there. You know, he was working with 4 or 5 guys, so you know, if you happen to start to miss a step or something, usually somebody would catch it before you got too far along, and you know, if you just forgot something or how to do something, somebody was usually right there for you. But this here video turned out pretty good. I have a GoPro camera on my head. Sometimes I forget not to move my head too fast because it might make you guys dizzy. But it also turned out to be good practice, because what I did was put the bearings in, put the crank in, and got the pistons in, and got everything all situated, and it was looking real good. I was real proud of myself, and I thought, boy, that went pretty smooth. Until I went over to the workbench to get something else, and I looked and I was like, son of a gun, I forgot the rope seals. So I actually had to tear all this out that you're seeing to start all over once I got the rope seals in. But like I said, it was good practice. No harm, no foul, I guess. But everything seems to be running smooth with the engine now that I got it going. And but it was a lot of fun. I just cranked the radio up, and of course I didn't leave the sound on the video because of the copyright issues. They don't seem to like that. But as far as assembly going, it went real smooth. And once I did get the rope seals in, everything just kind of fell into place. And I would test it once in a while by turning it over to make sure that something wasn't too tight, wasn't bound up. Every so often, just so I didn't get too far and then have to backtrack again. But it worked out real well. Basically, other than the engine block and the camshaft, everything in this engine is new. I bought all new parts because when I was tearing it apart and looking at it, I noticed that some of the valves were different colors, the springs, somebody had changed things and put all kinds of different concoctions in there, and it was it checked out all right where I could put pretty much standard stuff back in, so I didn't have to do a lot of figuring on getting bigger bearings or what have you. I could put all standard pistons in, standard bearings, and the crank and all of that good stuff. So everything went together real nice, and then it was kind of a parachute effect, that I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to have any engine problems down the road unless it was something that I actually did. I didn't want to have to tear this thing apart again, and I'm hoping that no more than I'm going to use it at my farm. I'm sure it's not going to get overworked. I may never have to tear this engine down, so I'm hoping that it's going to last a good long while. Outlast me probably, but the rest of the tractor is in pretty good shape. It can use some stuff here and there. It's got some bent arms or what have you on it, stabilizer bars I need to put on it. Brakes probably need worked on. A lot of guys say they don't really use the brakes a whole lot anyway unless they're doing some stuff on hills, and my ground's pretty flat, so other than rolling it off of the trailer or on the trailer, the brakes aren't that big a deal to where I can't handle what's going on with it. But like I said, it's all brand new, and everything went together real smooth. And I was getting a little giddy at this point, and just to getting close to actually getting the motor put back together and put back in, and so I could start wiring it up and hopefully hear it run. And so like I said, this here was all good practice, because everything you're seeing I had to undo and do it all over again. But it worked out all right. So, you know, rookie mistake, but that's why I don't do it for a living, I guess. I mean, I'm a mechanic by trade, but it's more of a general maintenance mechanic. I work at a glass factory, and most of my mechanical jobs that I've had are weren't automotive since I was about 18. So right after I got out of high school, I did a little mechanic work, but technology's passed me up quite a bit. But these things here, they were made to work. They were made to work on. It just amazed me how easy everything was to get to, how easy everything was to replace. I didn't really have a whole lot of problem with things coming apart other than that front end. Boy, that was a bear. But that's to be expected out of 70-year-old equipment, and especially something that's sat around for 10 years. You don't want them sitting around. You got to at least get them out every once in a while and lubricate things and keep things moving. And rust is a terrible thing for these, and to be sitting outside is really bad, especially in Illinois. With the temperature changes in the winters, it can be harsh. Spring can be really wet. Summer can be hot as all get out. So you got everything to the extreme here sometimes, and you just want to get it out and use it. So things were going along pretty well, and wasn't having too much trouble with my arms or my hands, and too much trouble with the process. I ordered a lot of parts from a lot of different places, and they all came through. Prices were reasonable. I did shop around a little bit on a few things to find something a little bit cheaper, but for the most part, I went with whoever had it in stock so I could get it quick. And I had one little problem with getting some piston rods that they only sent 3 instead of the 4, but all that took was a phone call, and they got that straightened out and got the 4th one to me in a hurry. So I can't complain. There's a lot of issues going on these days, and service is a good thing. Good service is hard to find sometimes these days, but everything worked out real well. I was happy with all the suppliers that I tried, and definitely go back to them. So I got everything lined up. Everything went in smooth. Everything pointing in the right direction. I watched a lot of YouTube videos on how to get it in time, how to adjust the valves, which was tricky to say the least, but I put in a whole new set of rotating valves and got them all adjusted, and got the head on, made sure I had everything ready to roll, and started putting her back on the tractor, and got the front end put back together, and it was actually starting to come together in a good timeline, and I pretty much knew by summer I'd have this thing running. And it actually took me just over 10 weeks from the time I rolled it into the garage to the time I fired it up, which was phenomenal to me. A redneck mechanic like myself, getting all that done, especially with the surgeries, and to only take 10 weeks to actually get it running and running decent. I was just happy as all get out. I couldn't have been happier with the way the project turned out. I later, of course, I had some steering problems that I went back and corrected. So I did have to take the hood off a couple times to get all that straightened out. But once I got her going and got her fired up, you know, it's a great sense of accomplishment for me. And I had the family come over and kind of celebrate with me when I brought her out of the garage to take her for that first spin. And the probably the craziest thing some people think, I guess, I resurrected this thing out of the dead, and the first drive I took was through the cemetery behind my house. So what better place, but it ran absolutely wonderful. And other than that little high-speed wobble that I discovered, but I've gotten that straightened out now. So it's came along just like I hoped it would.
Good job, Dano. Pops and Grandpa Harry would be so proud.
So shortly after I got a test run going on, I took it to a car show here in town, and that's where I discovered the high-speed wobble. So I was going down the highway in third gear, but I got it all straightened out. Finally got it down to the farm and put it to work a little bit just to see how it would do, and man, it did great. It did absolutely great. So I'm looking forward to getting a bush hog and really doing some work with it next year. So